Well, welcome back to Puck Watching. We're excited to have you all back. Nick is back and ready to rumble today after a little Wednesday solo episode with just me. But I feel like we kind of had to get something to you guys after just a bunch of Blues games happened, and we really didn't get you much information since Bernie Federko came to the show, which if you haven't tuned into that one yet, it's still very relevant, all of what he was saying on there. Especially with this team's struggles as they continue to do it. Bernie was great, so please give that a listen if you can. And also, things below, still a reminder, what our new partnership with the Hockey Podcast Network. We're excited to be a part of their network now. You get a chance with some DraftKings promos as well with that, and that'll be in little mid-rolls throughout the show with us here. But Nick, before we kind of get into some big Blues talk, a lot of stuff to really catch up with about the St. Louis Blues. You're in a very different spot than usual, it seems like. And would you like to explain to the audience of where you are?
Yeah, I'm in a Hilton in downtown Kansas City. Drove here this morning from St. Louis, about 3.5 hours. Made pretty good time. And the mission of the weekend is to watch the Los Angeles Chargers, you almost said San Diego, take down the Kansas City Chiefs tomorrow and shatter dreams. So that's my goal here. But my buddy's from San Diego, so he's obviously a big Chargers fan, got me a jersey. So I'm fully on the wagon, was never a Chiefs fan anyway, so didn't mind it.
Now, what was the jersey choice, though?
Quentin Johnston. Go Frogs.
Yeah, go Frogs. Yeah, that's. I mean, I feel like he's probably one of their better receivers now. Yeah,
he's had a very good year compared to last year. He's had a very good year. Yeah.
Well, I'm also going to some NFL tomorrow, and different situation though for me up northeast when you got the Pats just rolling out of a bye week though, trying to get started and against this big Buffalo Bills team. Nick, for a lot of implications, especially for Buffalo in this. Pats are pretty much secured, but they would have a chance to go 2-0 against Buffalo this year after I went to the first one.
Who are you cheering for?
I don't know. It's a tough situation because we got some family in Buffalo, obviously, and that's why I was there. But I think I'm gonna go in there rolling a Pats jersey. I really do. I hate to do it as a former Rams fan, as a St. Louisan, it just feels sacrilegious. But let's remind ourselves that the team that was, 10 years ago is absolutely nothing like it is now. Sure, the franchise, the ownership, it still stands the same, but it's still not the same team. And Drake May, love that guy. And I've really started just to become slightly a Pats fan. I'm not like totally, into it, but I'm kind of just right on the cusp. You know what I mean? Just casual, I'd say.
I mean, you took Belichick and Brady out of the equation. It definitely changes the optics of it. But I don't think you'd get a lot of sympathy from the family out in Buffalo for that explanation.
Well, I tried to explain it, but yeah, I didn't really get much sympathy at all.
No.
But we're excited for it. And also I'm headed back to St. Louis next week. And we're going to be going to some games, which will be fun, and we'll update you with that as it goes along. But let's get into some Blues talk, Nick. It was really it was kind of a shorter week in comparison to some of the others that we've had so far. But you had a back-to-back last night and the day before, and then you had another rematch against the Boston Bruins. But I think the week kind of summed up here is that this up and down where you're winning in very small ways and you're losing in huge ways. Boston being a prime example of it. You lose 5-2 to them both times, and then you get absolutely shellacked by the Preds, who are the second last place team in the whole NHL. And then you get a win last night against Chicago, but it was a nail biter again to the end, as it always is with this team. So we haven't heard from you in a while, Nick. So thoughts on the overall team in the last, I think, week and a half since we've talked?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've overall taken a step back this week. I know that they were able to come out on top against Montreal and win those back-to-back games in Canada. I thought that was a very good indication potentially of where things were going. And also after getting embarrassed in Boston, we were obviously there the week prior. I thought they're going to have a much better performance and take a lead early in the first, and then you give it up, you tie it back up, and then you let up three straight unanswered goals. So that was a tough one. Going to Nashville, Nashville had just come off a win against Colorado right after that.
Right.
So I already didn't have a great feeling about that one, given the momentum that they had.
Yeah.
And that was bad. That was probably one of the worst games they played in a while. I guess that's not saying too much, but they got stomped on. It seemed like every puck that they let go into their zone ended up in the back of the net. Stamkos had 4 goals. O'Reilly got on the board. It was not a good game.
No.
But we did have some silver linings in that game. What Kazimowski was able to pump one in, and then
Luff.
yeah.
I'm sorry. No, it was McGing in that game.
McGing, okay.
Yeah, McGing,
And then Luff obviously was the one that got in on the action last night against the Blackhawks. So it was a really weird week. I still think overall they're not playing very well right now. I think that is partly due to the injuries. But again, I said this on Twitter the other day. This is the easiest part of their schedule probably for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And it already started this week against Nashville. Blackhawks are not a playoff team currently. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team by the end of the regular season. Thought the Blues did a good job of getting that revenge game and being able to overcome what seemed to be maybe a potential overtime loss by the end of that third period. But they're not playing great, but they have been able to get a few wins, which is good.
I really like what Jim Montgomery does in these games. It's so funny how he does it. So he, just like he did in the first or in the Utah game that happened a few weeks ago that we were at over Thanksgiving, he puts in Hofer after letting up, I think it was 5 or 6 goals in that game in the first one matchup in like the earlier parts of the season. And then he puts in Hofer and he puts up a shutout. And then last night he puts in Hofer after letting up, I think, another 6 against Chicago earlier parts of the season. And then look what happens. He has a great game last night. And we say it every time that the Blues get a win. What's the big key factor in what makes this team win hockey games? And it's always the goalie. It always is. And Joel Hofer has just had an unbelievable set of games, I think, in the last 5. And just, I think, a lot better than what I was saying on Wednesday than what Binnington has been having in his last 5, too.
Yeah, Bennington's stats are not nearly as good as what Hofer's are right now. Hofer's been pretty dominant, I think, in the last few times that he's started. A dramatic change from where he started in the beginning of the season. I don't think there's any question the Blues aren't playing well in front of either goalie, really. I did not think last night was a case in point of that, though. I didn't think they played that badly last night, to be frank.
No.
I mean, they gave up a few good chances in the first period. I thought they really locked in the second period, and they had the worst goal differential in the second period of any team in the NHL, and they actually managed to go +1. So, that was good to see. But in the third period, the Blackhawks really got some good opportunities, and so did the Blues. Blues hit the post twice or 3 times in the third period. So, it wasn't like the best performance overall in front of the goalie, but better than they had been the last couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I really was. I still am amazed, by the way, how bad that goal differential is. And I wanted to highlight it because it's such a crazy stat that this guy came out. And I really like reading the Bleeding Blue articles that come out. They have their own website. It's a great source of Blues content, but they had a really interesting stat that they posted. It wasn't from them personally, but from a guy on Twitter. He said St. Louis has an NHL worst -35 goal differential. That was after the Nashville game. And so now it's -34. But that's happened only 9 times in franchise history and just 3 times in the last 45 years. That's pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. And I think and by the way, it speaks to a lot of what we've been saying the last few weeks. I think it's like this team has never been very good at the start of the season the last 3 or 4 years, right? But all of a sudden, now you see that there is a very big difference that this team is in 25, 26 than the struggles have been in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So very big difference right now. And I think that stat really spoke to it a lot. It's not just the struggles in general with not being in playoff contention at this point, but it's literally how you are letting in so many more goals than you're putting in. And it seems like a very simple stat, but it's so evident with just how this season is going, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the standings right now, and it's just hilarious to think back, like in the beginning of the season, that the Blues were going to have a minus 34 goal differential and be 2 points out of a wild card spot.
So
But
crazy.
it's just because the Western Conference just is not very good right now, with the exception of Dallas and Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
But they have the most goals against in the entire NHL, and
Yep.
it's not relatively close.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's obviously what's getting them. It's not because they're only scoring like 50 goals. It's not like they score a lot of goals,
Right.
but the goals let in is absurdly the problem in this whole formula. And they have not beaten anyone by more than 1 goal since the Buffalo Sabres game on November 6th. So I don't know.
Didn't realize that.
We've talked about it a few times, but if you're not going to be able to extend or win 1 game by more than 1 goal, sure, you could still maybe squeak into the playoffs. It's probably not very likely, but your goal differential is not going to get any better. So it's crazy.
No, they're still top in the league. Well, I guess bottom in the league, I should say, when they say goals against. They're 116. It's 10 more than the next right now in the entire NHL, and about 25th in goals for, 84 total. So not going to cut it at this point. But I think there are some signs of life, though, Nick. I think when you look at this week and you saw the losses, obviously, but one of the things I really wanted to highlight was starting to catch fire with Robert Thomas recently. He had 3 goals this week, including, I think it was 2 in the Boston game and then 1 in the Nashville game. But I think he's really starting to find some moments here with Buchnevich, who is also starting to see some more action. He has 4 points in his last 5. And I think the chemistry with those two, which we predicted in the earlier parts of the season, that would be him and Thomas that are going to be on this line. It's just a matter of who's going to be complimenting them. And at the earlier part of the season, it was going to be Snuggerud, and he's out for some considerable time. But you're still starting to find it there. I think it's been Jake Neighbors that's been playing with them for a little bit, but it's kind of been off and on. So I guess Buchnevich, what have you been seeing from him recently?
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 games, I remember when you recorded it, I listened to it the following day, and you were talking about Buchnevich. I thought up to that stretch, his last 3 or 4 games had been really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Really good. He'd scored a couple goals. He was, honestly, his forecheck was just insane. He was getting his sticks into lanes and being able to get the puck when it seemed unlikely and putting it to the front of the net and being able to contribute on, whether it was assists or scoring goals. That line was playing well, I thought. Overall, he's pointless in the last 2 games. I still think he's playing better. But Rob has been playing extremely well.
Yeah.
I just looked at him. I kind of zoned in on him for an entire period. I think in the second period last night, he is creating a lot. He's creating a lot, and maybe that doesn't show necessarily all the time on the stat sheet, even though it kind of has recently. But he has been able to win puck battles and make very, very difficult passes look pretty easy. And sometimes he makes really easy passes look difficult just because he just puts he just has a crazy saucer pass to someone, or it's just coming in really hot. He also has been doing this, and honestly, I don't really have a problem with it. But when Rob gets it like in our own zone, so our own D zone, and if he gets the puck, he's really, really not afraid to go to the middle of our own ice in our own zone. He did that at least 4 times last night, and it worked out really, really well every time. and and that leads us to have a clean break out of our own zone and maybe have a rush. And if we're not going to be able to get it out of our own zone very well, which we can't. We don't get it out of our own zone very well. We had so many giveaways last night and just lost puck battles, fumbled pucks. So if Rob, sees the initiative to be able to get it out of our own zone, but it does come at a certain risk, honestly, it may be worth it at this point, just given their struggles. But
Yeah.
again, I think he's been playing really well. I think Buchnevich just played really well. I think Holloway's played really well. He almost had 2 goals last night and
He
probably
had
should
to.
have.
Yeah.
But he's really created. I've really liked his game recently. I think Shen's been playing a little bit better. I know every Blackhawks fan and their mother was upset because of that ending play on Bedard, which I honestly, Shen has had some pretty dirty hits in his career.
Yeah.
That was definitely not one of them.
No.
So I saw no problem with that. But I think he's been playing better. The top forwards have stepped up to an extent the last couple games. They still need more, though, just given the injuries that are happening.
Yeah, so I talked about it a lot. I wanted to hear your thoughts, and again, I always get this question whenever I'm watching the Blues game right in the dorm here, and everybody's kind of huddling around the TV and seeing the Blues like down like 5-2, and it's like, so what's the problem? It changes week to week, but my answer this week was, well, your whole bottom 6 is basically AHL guys, like all of them. And you look at McGing, you look at Luff, Kaskamaki in there, and then Robbie Fabry, who's been supplemented in. And I'll consider him to be an AHL guy at this point right now. He's looking great, by the way. He's got 2 points in 2 games. It's great, 2 assists. But I think he's providing some sort of spark. But at the same time, he wasn't signed by a team at all this season. He had 2 PTOs from the Pittsburgh Penguins earlier on in the season, did not make the team. And then had a PTO with Florida last week before he got signed and also did not make the team. And then he gets signed with the Blues. So it's weird, but he's providing some sort of spark with this team, I think. And I'm happy to see him playing on that. I think he's been playing on the second line recently. I think he was at one point playing with Dvorsky and Suter, which I really sort of like. I think that's a really nice combination of bunch of players there. You got a really young guy like Dvorsky, who's got so much potential and skill that we've haven't seen it quite in the point column yet. And obviously with Suter, who has been, I think, arguably one of the more underrated parts of this team thus far. I think when we lose Suter, which we did for a couple games, I think it was like 2 games, there was a difference in the way that this team played, and we're happy to have him back. And then having Fabry, who 5 years ago, we were saying is, all right, this guy, or I'd say 6 years ago when he was on the team, that he was still sort of the young guy, still trying to find his stride. He was dealing with a bunch of injuries with the Blues over time. But now he's sort of a veteran. He's played in the league for a long time, played with Detroit, I think, for 5 years total. So he's been sort of a very different player that the Blues are sort of developing with this year.
The scoring ability of Fabry, like even in his years in Detroit, I think he had 18 goals one year when he was playing there for a couple. So I think as a Blues fan, no matter the nostalgia you feel when you hear Robbie Fabry's name, that scoring could matter a lot. So I honestly thought it was a great reuniting and also a good strategic one too, not just because of the romantic idea of having Fabry back in St. Louis. I think he actually could contribute. Of course, the injuries have really plagued him, so I hope he can stay healthy and on the ice. But that man hit Teravainen so hard last night. I wasn't even I saw the hit, but I didn't see him go literally over the Blues bench when he got it, or the Blackhawks bench. I forget which bench he got hit into.
It
but
was the Blues bench.
It was the Blues bench. Okay. It was an incredible hit. And that was a really physical game last night, by the way. But it was an awesome hit. And then again, he has another assist. So he's got 2 points in 2 games. And he was probably the best forward. I know Montgomery said this, but he was the best forward on the ice for the Blues in Nashville. And honestly, that's hand up. That's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, for a guy that's, hadn't been playing a lot and trying to find a team and find work and comes in and has that type of effort and gets that praise from a coach, that's pretty great. And I like his play has been outstanding so far. I know it's a small sample size, but you got to give him some credit.
No, you do. And I don't think, and by the way, I actually, when I was going through some highlights and when I was trying to mock up that little highlight reel, which hopefully you guys enjoyed, it's pretty fun. Was I was excited to see him back. And everybody loves Robbie Fabry when he was here. I mean, he just was such an exciting player. And remember, he was a 2014 first round pick from this team. And by the way, that's crazy to think about that happened so long ago. And now he's now in his 30s, or I think close to 30s. But either way, like the fact that he's gone so far already is crazy. And but his physicality that I saw, I remember that one hit that he had against Chicago that I showed in that reel, where I don't remember who it was, but he absolutely bulldozed this guy right into the boards. And it was very similar to the one that we saw, but it was just in the bench last night. So I really like the presence that he brings to this team. And it's very different than what we've seen, I think. But we needed something like that in terms of a physical presence that could step up in a way that not going to be with Nathan Walker. He's out. Not going to be with Torpchenko. He's out. Bukestad's out as well. So there has to be some sort of void filled. And I think they're sort of filling it. Not to say that it's really hard to fill a void with three of those bottom six guys that are going to really generate you some good pressure and spark. But I think we're getting it out of them.
No, I agree. And also not to change topic too quickly because I've loved Fabry's play, but you got to give him his flowers when he deserves them. Logan Mailloux scoring his first NHL goal last night. I couldn't have been more excited about that. I think that guy needed to see one go through the back of the net more than probably anyone in the entire National Hockey League.
Probably.
I look on the hockey stat card every single night after a Blues game, and he is consistently the worst rated Blues player almost every single night.
Yeah.
And he was not last night. And I don't know, he's got to feel really good about that. He almost had another one. He had an absolutely cannon of a slap shot just a few minutes after. I thought he played a much more competently and confidently defensively. I think he's been trending in a better direction since the AHL bring up and with that brief stint with the Thunderbirds. But I couldn't have been more excited. He's supposed to be an offensive defenseman. But again, if you're going to play so badly on the defensive end, you should probably focus on being a better defenseman rather than trying to generate anything offensively. Yeah. But so excited to see it. And even Loof getting in on the action, like it was such a weird scoring night. Falk scored again. It was really strange, but super excited to see Mailloux get on the board. And I hope that's a sign of things to come.
Well, the box score last night, I think, speaks to the Blues situation for sure pretty well. Yeah. It's like, all right, your first goal scorer was Mailloux, and then you get to a Luff, and he was playing with Joseph on that line, and then you get Falk, who got the game winner, kind of squeaked through there. But in terms of defensively for this team, though, not just on the defense side, by the way, offensive. And I don't know if it's changed, by the way, since Chicago. It may have, because there were a couple players in plus territory after last night. But after the Nashville game, there was 0 Blues players that were in the plus of the plus minus category. 0. And the only team in the NHL to have that, by the way. So obviously speaks to some defensive struggles, no doubt. But it also just speaks to the entire team because the offense is responsible for some defense too. So, but I do like to see it from Mailloux, though. I like what you said there, and I think that him succeeding on this team is, I think, probably ultimately what's going to probably bring that third pairing up from the level that they were at in the beginning of the season, where you're just not going to get it for Matthew Kessel and Tyler Tucker every night. But Mailloux has the potential to really prop that up, and he's getting close. He's not there yet, but I think slowly but surely, and I think the goal will really help.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Guess the only player on the Blues that is above a 0.
Oh, so there is one now.
There's one. And a minimum, I would say, of 20 games played. So, to be fair.
So I'm going to guess Broberg.
No.
Okay. Joseph?
It is Joseph.
Oh!
Yeah.
71. God.
71. He's a +1. Broberg's -2, shockingly, but it's actually pretty good given the state of everyone else on the roster.
Yeah.
So yeah, look at him go. Matthew Joseph has actually played really, really well.
Yeah.
He's maybe been our most consistent player this year, and maybe Rob can slowly take over that as the season progresses, or Broberg. But still, Joseph's been a spark. He's been really great, physical and smart, and he's made a lot of good plays.
I know I really like Joseph's play, but I hate that comment that you just made. The fact that he's been our most consistent player all year, because I think that alone sums it up. Right.
You just
there.
know that he's given his
True.
he's filling his cup every single night, and maybe the cup isn't the biggest cup in the world, but at least he's trying, and his effort is there every single night. You can't say the rest about that team. You can't say that about the rest of the team. So unfortunately,
and he's played with so many different guys the whole year. He goes from playing like second line, third line minutes on occasion because Montgomery switches up the lines. Then he goes the fourth line with Sundqvist and that. So I think he can really just play a lot of different roles. So whether this team is struggling very much offensively, which they proved to be that in a lot of different situations this year, or whether it's, needing a spark on the physical side, I think he's always there. And I think that this is not the Joseph that we really saw last year, though, at all. It's a very different guy. I think maybe it's just him capitalizing on the moment because of so many different injuries that are inflicting this team. But still, it's really impressive from him, and he's definitely earning the fact that he got another year, off the contract from the trade last year. And I think he's really earning his keep on this team. It's probably the one guy that you could consistently go to on that bottom six that will never be scratched at this point, just because of how effective he's been.
Yeah, I think he's earned that right to be on that third and fourth line, even when people come back from injury. But I was going to say too, the box score was really strange with Loof and Mayu scoring and then Falk. But Neighbors should have had one. He had Knight beat and then got stuffed by the post because of a late little back check. Yeah. And then Dylan Holloway hit 2 posts, I believe. And then Sundqvist also hit the post. You could have probably had a different story when it was all said and done. But those are the 3 that found in the back of the net. And the Blues can't complain about the ways that they're going to win right now. They just have to win.
No. And I think one of the ways that they really started to find ways to win, I think toward the beginning part of the season, when the early struggles were kind of out the window, it was the power play that really started to kind of gain some steam. And that has since sort of dropped, unfortunately. They're right now sitting at 18.8% on the power play, about 16th in the league. There's 32 teams, so just about half that they're beating. And the penalty kill is right around the same, slowly, subtly improving, but not by much at all. So I will say, though, the one thing I like about the Blues power play, Nick, is despite having so many guys out and so many weapons, especially Kyrou and Snuggerud, that can give you a lot of different chances on the power play side and special teams, that they're still able to really dominate and really find a way to zip pucks around and generate some sort of chances. Like last night, they had a few power plays they couldn't capitalize, but still, I saw that they were clicking. And I think that's a good thing, because I think a lot of times last season and earlier parts of this year, it was that just this is not working. Whatever this combination of players is just not finding ways to get into the zone quickly and get some dangerous chances as a result. But now it's sort of shifting where it's like, all right, now you just got to finish. But overall, your setup and the way that you're able to get people open in the right spots, I think, is in the right place, I would say.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, I still think the biggest takeaway wasn't really the case in Nashville. I guess they let up a power play goal, but the penalty kill has been really good. They didn't have to go on the penalty kill one time last night.
That's nice.
So your penalty kill is going to look awfully good if you never have to go on it.
Yeah.
So that was really good to see. And the Blues, in fairness to the Blackhawks, they only committed 1. There were more because of the fighting, but obviously no power plays as a result there. So yeah, the Blues only had 1. They had a couple good chances, but nothing crazy. But I do think they look more competent when it does come to going on that power play. But the penalty kill, I still think, is the biggest silver lining, and in terms of how much better they've gotten on that.
For sure. Yeah, Logan Mayu got in that fight right at the Blues logo last night, just like center stage, like ready to drop the mitts. And good fight, by the way. Between I forget who he was fighting exactly, but from the Blackhawks. But it was Doc he was fighting, and really fun to watch. And I didn't think that he had that. He has the size for it for sure, but didn't think that was going to come out. And boy, it did. Exciting to see that and see some more spark from a guy like him too, and adding on to a goal with it too.
It didn't look like that was his first little skirmish.
No, it didn't.
However, it did look like the first skirmish for Dylan Holloway. That was one of the most embarrassing NHL fights. Honestly, if you watched it, it was so bad. Like they were like tripping. Like I think Holloway literally slapped at him one time, and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And then eventually, I think Holloway just kind of grabbed him, and then they both fell down together. But I was like, please don't do that again. Like it's not worth it. You can only get hurt, and if you're not even going to be a good fighter, just don't do that. So no, I'm going to say no more Dylan Holloway fighting anyone in the NHL.
We'll leave that to Jake Neighbors. That's more of his role.
He can do that.
Or Shen. And I will say also to the offense, so we talked about power play and its improvements over time, but also one of the things that's been very good throughout the whole year, Blues are second in the entire NHL in scoring first. They scored first again last night. They scored first against Nashville. They scored first against Boston. I mean, we could go on and on. And did they actually?
They did not score first against Nashville. No.
Okay. They were. I think it was like 2-1 or
it was 1-1. It was 2-1. They scored when they were down 2-0. Yeah.
Okay. Either way, then excluding Nashville, they still find ways to score first, which is a really good thing when you think about it. But at the same time, after the fact is when it begins to really become a challenge every time. Is that second period is the worst period of Blues hockey any game that they play. It's just atrocious. And last night, I think, was a nice exception. But at the same time, you got to find ways to get that better. I don't know. Like, find ways to be better in the second period. I don't think it's that hard.
It's funny because this season runs so counter to the previous two. Because whenever the Blues scored, their record was like they had like a 950 percentage winning percentage when it came to them scoring first. Right. But the reason that they were bad still is because rarely did they ever score first.
Right.
So that's why the year before last that they were not a good teams because they just generally didn't get on the board first. Right. But when they did, they were able to protect it and then build on it.
Yeah.
This year, it's just been literally the exact opposite where they're scoring first and then they'll lose by multiple goals.
Right.
So not the season I was expecting on that front because you're right. Like the stat speaks for itself. Like they have been scoring first and being effective early. They just cannot have any type of consistency.
No sustaining it. And once that second period falls apart, then you get into the third, it's like a catch-up game. And then, so you're kind of already against the grain there. And the third period, is fine. But it's like this team also doesn't really come back very much either. When they're down after the second period, they're down and they're probably not coming back from it, which is an issue. And would love to see some more fighting the adversity and resilience from this team. But I don't know if it's just the fact that a lot of them aren't battle tested. I mean, I think especially now you can say that with everybody out. Like, I really want to see Jordan Kyrou back very soon. And I think this is a good – I know he's on the IR now, so it probably won't be for a little bit. But I think it's a good thing, Nick. I think we've talked about this a little bit, especially last year. It's like, where does he sort of fit in? And can this team succeed without him, I guess? And
Kyrou.
Without Kyrou. Yeah. And I think we're sort of seeing the answer is no at this point. And they've been getting contributions from other guys as a result. Thomas is stepping up, Booch is stepping up, and I think Holloway's doing a great job too. And then the bottom six is trying to get their share too. But at the same time, you lose a guy who was the only person to reach the 30 goal mark last year. And I think he put up 36, 37, something like that. And that's the guy who you're going to call upon for the majority of your goals. You just are. And he played all 82 games last season, so we couldn't even have seen what the situation would have been like without him. But now we sort of see it, and we see that paired with a just slightly worse Blues team, maybe more than slightly, paired with a worse Blues team overall without Kyrou is not a very good pairing whatsoever.
Well, this is the first time we've ever really had to talk about that because Kyrou generally just doesn't really get hurt, which is weird because he's not the strongest guy in the world, but he's also like intentionally not that physical. And also people around him aren't that physical until the playoffs where, everyone's physical no matter what. But he's managed to stay on the ice for the last few years on the Blues, which is not very common. But I think the Blues could win without Kyrou, but only if they're managing to not have as many injuries in their bottom six and in the top six. Like a person like Snuggerud wouldn't be able to get hurt for the Blues, or can't get hurt if they're without Kyrou, if the Blues still wanted to win hockey games.
Right.
I think that's a result of it. Your top lines would have to produce pretty significantly, so you'd still have to get a lot of contributions from Rob and Buchnevich, and you'd have Snuggerud hypothetically in this situation, and then Neighbors as well, and then you have Holloway and Suter and Chen. So, and I think most of those players, the ones that I named that are healthy, have not actually played badly since Kyrou's been out. I think they've actually been generally pretty good offensively. I have been kind of shocked at how badly the Blues had been defensively. However, like they just have let up way too many chances, and I thought they were getting better on that end. And the injuries for the Blues, they've been extensive, and I know forwards can contribute on the defensive side, but the defense is not hurt. They're not. It's Cam Fowler's healthy, Colton Parayko's healthy, Logan Mayhew's healthy, Tucker's healthy, all these guys, Falk's healthy. So all these dudes are ready to go, but I just think they have not played as well in the last week or so that they had been those previous 2 weeks. But again, and not to say like the offense has contributed all that much, like people have been playing better, but maybe not enough to necessarily win hockey games given the state of the team. But again, I think they could be successful without Kyrou, but they're going to need to be given this stretch of the schedule. Like we've talked about it already. These are the worst teams in the NHL that they're going to play for a stretch of time.
Right.
Only one team that they're going to play is slated, if the playoffs were to start today, would make the playoffs.
It's
the
Jets.
No,
the Jets are out right now. Okay.
Yeah, they're not in. I forget who it was.
Okay.
It was a good team though.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. It's the Lightning. Lightning.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is the only team that they're going to play, and they have 5 more home games and 2 games on the road. So I think like as we get down this stretch here, you have Nashville on Monday, bad team. You prove you can lose to them though. The Jets on Wednesday, not playing well. Rangers on Thursday, not playing well. All 3 of those are at home. So you have a really, really good chance to get back on the board, and they have to be able to be successful without Jordan Kyrou. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. They have to win those games to start sniffing a little bit of momentum, and you actually maybe have a wild card spot if you beat all those teams too, which is crazy.
But it really, I think it makes the playing field so much more uneven without Kyrou, I think now. And because I think the one way that I think you're going to win these games is probably by outscoring them and maybe allowing some sort of defensive mistakes throughout, because that's just going to happen with the way this defense is played. But you got to find ways to score more, and this team is not finding those ways. I mean, I think the most that they've scored is 5 this year, which was Vancouver a long time ago. It's like 5-2, and that's it. Like it's been nothing like that through the rest of the season. I probably wouldn't have predicted that if I was looking back. I would say I probably wouldn't have predicted the horrible offensive production that we've gotten. But at the same time, when looking at it, okay, Kyrou's your offensive weapon. Thomas is an offensive weapon. And then it kind of gets a little sticky. Like Snuggerud, we don't know. He's injured, and we didn't see like what we probably really wanted to see from him, like Calder Trophy level stuff. And Dvorsky, still haven't seen that yet. And then Buchnevich had that early season struggle starting to catch fire. And then Holloway started the same way, started off the season kind of slow. So, and obviously Shen too, but we kind of predicted that pretty similar production from him. So it's just a combination of a lot of things in the offense.
I think Holloway and Rob, when this season's all said and done, and you know, I don't think either of those two are getting traded, and I would say the same about Kyrou. I think those guys are going to probably have the stats that we probably maybe predicted in the beginning of the year. They're trending in that direction where Rob's getting multiple points in games. Holloway's starting to score goals. Holloway's pacing for more than 20 goals this year.
That's good.
So that's great. Not to say he's going to hit the assist mark, but still. And Kyrou, I think, is going to be on the same wavelength too. I think the really big missing pieces are, one, it's Buchnevich, and I know he's playing better, but he's still well under pace. He's not close to the things that we need him to do to produce and make the Blues a better team. And defensively, like, there's no looking past that one. Logan Mailloux scored 1 goal, so it's not compensating for Parayko's lack of productivity, goal scoring wise, and Fowler.
Yeah.
So, and I know Falk's played better this year, but again, you need all of these guys to start scoring more goals and be involved in the play. And I think Fowler's been more aggressive. I think Parayko's been more aggressive, but they haven't reached nearly the caliber of play that they had last year offensively, and that's going to contribute to these overall numbers.
Yeah, and I think Broberg's the one guy who I think, besides Falk, who's gotten a lot of the goals for this team on the defensive side, Broberg hasn't gotten the Falk goals, but I still would maybe make an argument that he is one of our best offensive defensemen when it comes to just being able to generate as many chances as he did. And I think I look back to the goal that they generated in Nashville when McGing scored it, but it was Broberg who created the whole play. He skated down from the neutral zone and went all the way down low, and then stopped, spun, then got it to Fabry down low, and then McGing with the 1-2 from Fabry, and McGing buries it. And that it all started with Broberg, and that play wouldn't have been possible without him. So I think that he's the one. Now, can it be Philip Broberg, though, that can be your elite offensive defenseman? It's probably not going to cut it. You're going to need other guys that supplement, and it's just we're not there yet. I think if you're DraftKings, by the way, if you want your little prop bet, player prop, I think it's only a matter of time before Colton Parayko scores. I just think that he's gone way too long without a goal. And the fact that it hasn't happened already is crazy, but it's got to happen already. I mean, when Fowler wasn't scoring, I was like, I feel like it's only a matter of time for him too. And he got one, hasn't gotten one since. Yep. But it's only a matter of time, I feel like, for Colton. I know he's not the production level we'd like, but I think if he can just get some numbers up offensively, I think that we would consider him to be in a much better place, I'd say.
I think you probably need 10 goals from Parayko this year. He had 16 last year.
Right.
So, I mean, you need a really strong, back 60% of the season.
Yeah.
If you're Parayko on the goal category, he has 10 assists. That's, good. I'll totally take that number, but you need to start pumping some goals. And in the same way you're talking about Broberg, that guy's truly a Swiss Army knife. Mm-hmm. He can literally play, it seems like, in any part of the game. He can be a really offensive defenseman. He can be a lockdown defenseman. I bet he could play in the power play. He does play on the PK. The guy is just one of these guys like that the Blues just freakishly walked into this situation with Edmonton. And I still, I can't, be happy about Philip Broberg enough, and how grateful I am for him to be on the Blues. I can't imagine where they would be without him this year and last year, for that matter. So just grateful today for Philip Broberg. That's all I'm going to say.
Another season with Nick Leddy and Ryan Suter, that would have meant, probably.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Would have been good.
Real fun. Now, I want to also mention, Nick, the goaltending situation. And we mentioned it a little briefly, but here's the update with the last couple games here with Joel Hofer. He's trending the right way. His save percentage is up to 893, and I think 3 weeks ago it was in the 860s. It's like, that was horrendous. I think at some point, by the way, after the Utah and the Chicago, absolute horrible losses, but that he was in for. He was at like the 750 range, whatever. He slowly worked his way up. Now he's at 893, but it feels like that he is just calm out there. And then I almost feel like, Nick, if the playoffs started tomorrow and the Blues were in it somehow, which they wouldn't be, but hypothetically, I would probably start Joel Hofer. And
I
I
probably
just
would
like
too.
it too. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad we're
Yeah.
on the same page there.
Yeah.
Now, like, is it a big thing to do considering Jordan Bennington has had so much playoff success? Absolutely. But just the way the numbers have gone for Bennington, 869 for him on the save percentage side, 2 and 3 in the last 5, and a 790 save percentage within that stretch. Yeah. So hasn't gotten much support in front of him in these games, I think. But at the same time, the numbers speak for themselves.
I mean, I think it was Bennington's net to lose if we're talking about who would start in the playoffs, and I think he's lost it in the last few weeks. Like, it's not to say he's been playing atrociously like he probably was in the first few weeks of the season, just like Hofer. But Hofer has bailed the Blues out in a couple of games recently, and has played really consistently. The only thing about Hofer, and Bennington does this too, but man, does that guy take risks outside of his own crease. Like, he skates there were a couple times where Bedard almost picked his pocket and just put it in the back of the net yesterday, and I'm like, come on, man. But still, the Blues, need ways to escape their own defensive zone, and I think both Bennington and Hofer see that as an opportunity for them to step up there. But yeah, I would start Hofer too. It's a long season though, and a ton can change, and I'm assuming Bennington's going to still get looks pretty consistently on a weekly basis, to show the Blues and Montgomery that he's still the number one. I hope he proves it, but I think Hofer has been rock solid the last couple weeks, and I can't say the exact same for Bennington, despite maybe him improving. It's not been the dramatic improvement that Hofer's had.
Not at all. I think if you're Jim Montgomery, he's probably not going to do it, but I think you should start Joel Hofer against Nashville on Monday. I really do, especially with how Jordan Bennington played, by the way, against Nashville. He started that 7-2 loss and got pulled after the second period. And again, that team was all out of sorts. The Blues were in that game.
Is this the most goalie pullings that we've witnessed in Blues? Like, I swear there's been probably like 10 games now where goalies are just getting pulled. Yeah. It's crazy.
No, it is. No, I'm not. I'm going to have to check that. I think that'd be an interesting stat to pull, but probably on the right track, I would say. But yeah, I just think that Nashville and then like the preceding and then the games ahead, it's like, I feel like it's only a no-brainer to go with the hot hand here and get the experience out of the way. We don't need to focus on that anymore because these guys are pretty much on the same wavelength right now. And Bennington's getting old. Hofer is younger. And Bennington's on the last year of his contract next year. So, and Hofer has got that RFA signing this year, and to say that we're very confident in him. So,
I think I know his formula.
Goalies
I think I know what Montgomery's.
By the way,
5 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. Yes.
Okay. I think I know Montgomery's formula for this week. It'll be Hofer, I think, against Nashville, and then I think Bennington is going to play against Winnipeg just because of the playoffs last year. I think, and I don't even know if he'll take much offense to that because Winnipeg's going to be a big game, and then Hofer will go on that back end of the back-to-back and play against the Rangers at home. I think that's probably the way it'll go.
I think that makes sense, and I don't think so too. I don't think he should take offense to that either.
No,
because when you look at in the playoffs last year, that guy just was unbelievable. Bennington was, and he won the goalie battle outright. Now it won't be Bennington versus Hellebuck. Hellebuck's out right now with injury, which is a reason why the Jets are struggling so much, and it makes sense. I mean, the guy was the MVP last year for the league, so I'm not surprised by that. But I'm really excited for that game. I think, and we are not going to be going to that one, but we hope to just see some sort of revenge and see a game where this team is probably playing with just a bit more than what they are in the past here, I would say. So I'm really psyched for that too, and I hope that Bennington can get a revenge start with that. Now, also addressing some other news, Nick, wanted to hear some of your thoughts on the big trade that happened last night. And it happened just before the Blues game even started, and it rocked the whole NHL. But Minnesota Wild, Central Division foe, who we lost to 5-0 in the opening night, where Nick and I were at that game. And they looked good in that game, and they're third right now in the Central. But they're going to get a huge jump in terms of defensive and offensive ability from a guy named Quinn Hughes. Vancouver Canucks traded him, and they, in return, Marco Rossi, Zeev Buium, first-round pick, and another guy. I mean, I don't really know how to rate the trade, by the way. It's Quinn Hughes for just a bunch of really young guys. But so maybe it just, expedites the rebuild more for Vancouver, and just kind of buys into the rebuild as well. But at the same time, Minnesota gives up some really good players as a result. So be interesting to see it.
I mean, Quinn Hughes is obviously a dominant player. He's very, very good. And the Wild will be better off having him. And they're certainly in a win now. They just paid Kaprizov however much money they paid him right before the season started. Yeah. So they're locked up and they need to win now. I mean, I think they see the writing on the wall. They've gotten past the first round of the playoffs like once in the last 15 years, despite having really good teams. So I think they know where they're at and understand what they want their trajectory to be. And this team is probably not going to be the team currently as it stands that brings them past that first round. With someone like Quinn Hughes, they certainly could get past that round, but it's not like Dallas and Colorado are going to make that easy on them. So they'll have a daunting audience to overcome there. However, I remember saying in our offseason episode a long time ago that I would love for someone like Marco Rossi to be a St. Louis Blue. Yeah. He's young, he's quick, he's not the most experienced guy in the world, but he scores. He contributes on the offensive side. Like, that was someone that I was excited about for him to be an RFA. And now he's gone. And it's interesting. So they don't have a bunch of, I would assume they won't have a bunch of cap room. I would assume they're not going to have a lot of flexibility, right? But they will certainly be a better team. There's just there's no doubt. And Quinn Hughes is an absolute monster on the ice. So yeah, good trade for both teams though. Like you were saying.
No, I think some people were saying, Vancouver just fleeced them. I just don't think that you really understand just what Quinn Hughes can give to the Minnesota Wild. It's just, I think he can literally transform their team in the first game that he plays for Minnesota. And I am just so nervous for the future, by the way, of us playing them in the Central Division, having to deal with that guy for however many years that he's there. And then we're going to pay him or play them 3 to 4 times a year. So not looking forward to that. And plus Brock Faber and Quinn Hughes, not a very fun defensive pairing there whatsoever. Nope. So, but yeah, I mean, it's overall exciting though for the Wild and not exciting for us though, I would say, but wanted to give that quick shout of news.
And the Oilers got their goaltender.
That's right. And I missed that one. So all the rumors about Jordan Bennington saying, Oilers want Jordan Bennington, they're inquiring about him, whatever. Yeah, that was a bunch of crap. And I bet there was no discussion, and it was just classic rumors from Elliot Friedman or something like that. And they get Tristan Jarry out of it, which kind of leave yourself in a very similar situation. Jarry's fine, but I don't think he's going to be anywhere near a top 10 goalie in the league, I would say. I think he's been good this season, but still not great, I would say. So I don't think this necessarily solves Edmonton's goalie problem, I would say, but we'll see. Maybe he does. I don't know. It's probably a little better.
I think they just had to do something. I think to appease the wolves that are the Edmonton Oiler fan base. That's because they saw what Stu Skinner did in the Stanley Cup. He obviously is not going to win them a Stanley Cup, and maybe they'll mix it up.
That's true. Well, I think that about sums it up right there, Nick. Going over a bunch of news, catching up on some Blues stuff. Good news is that you have another Sunday without Blues hockey, not having to deal with watching that, because I think last night gave us some hope, but still not a lot of hope, I would say. But we're happy to get you checked in, Nick. We missed you on Wednesday. And by the way, X Golf playoffs, though. So that's some big stuff over there. Number one seed from
number one
the Nick.
seed.
That's
just
awesome.
a kid from St. Louis with a drink. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Well, hey, Chiefs game tomorrow, Pats game for me. Hopefully it goes the sides of both of our teams, the Chargers and
Chargers.
Chargers and Pats. We will talk soon. Hopefully we will see you on Thursday with some content. Until then, have a great rest of the weekend and start to the week next week. We'll see you then.
See you guys.